Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Let me introduce myself. My name is Cindy Yulia Putri as a civil servant lecturer in International Relations Program in UPN Veteran Jakarta. Me and two lecturers here have one article that will analyze more deeply, and the title is Corporate Diplomacy as Strategy in Facing of Corporate Social Responsibility Polemic by Palm Oil Corporates in Indonesia. Next. So my presentation's agenda here for today is, so what will I explain today, including abstract, introduction and concept of corporate social responsibility, discussion, and at the end is the conclusion. So for abstract, as the time progressed, there was an expansion of the movement of actors in the realm of international relations. Corporations or MNCs are recognized for their movement in industrial world, including the palm oil industry. 4,783 villages around the palm oil industry to fulfill their daily lives. This study aims to determine the various polemics in the implementation of CSR by palm oil corporates in Indonesia. This paper uses a descriptive type of qualitative approach with the data collection technique is literature study. The sources of data are real-world situations, natural and non-manipulated settings. The researcher is immersed in the details specifies of settings. This study collects several palm oil corporates that realized various CSR programs and analyzed CSR practices based on the principle of sustainability. Various data were analyzed based on literature studies that have been carried out. Some of the corporates sampled in this study have not met the principles of sustainability. Therefore, this study offers the implementation of corporate diplomacy as a strategy for oil palm corporates to be able to apply basic principle of CSR programs on a regular basis in the future. This type of diplomacy will focus heavily on the company's role in communicating with community groups or farmers around the company, so the approach applied is bottom-up. This paper provides insight into the polemic of CSR implementation on basic principles that palm oil corporates have not been able to fulfill. Then palm oil corporates as non-state actors can be a new and specific study in international relations. So the keywords are corporate diplomacy, polemic, corporate social responsibility or CSR, palm oil corporates, and Indonesia. And for introduction, palm oil is a priority commodity in Indonesia. In 2019, for example, out of 34 provinces in Indonesia, Riau ranks first as the province with the largest palm oil area in Indonesia. And in relating to diplomacy, this is growing day by day. Diplomacy is indeed the main activity of diplomats who represent the country. However, non-state actors are increasingly getting space to carry out diplomacy according to their capacities. Westerman and Bihelo et al. Argued that the political constellation and instability in the host country further encourage multinational corporations or MNCs, multinational enterprises or MNEs, or corporates to minimize conflicts. MNCs stem from the many political conflicts experienced by companies in the host country where they operate. Initially, MNC did not really care about this, but the role of MNC was increasingly being tested, and like it or not, MNC needed to do something to deal with sensitive global politics. This is the beginning of the role of MNCs in the realm of international relations. In host countries with weak governance, such as conflict zones, companies face extreme social, political, and legal uncertainty, as well as security and reputational risk, in addition to economic risk. The corporates are often confused in responding to political conflicts in the country due to the government gaps and etc. And then the various economic, political, social, security risks are also experienced by the company. Therefore, corporates carry out diplomacy to stakeholders to continue to fight for business activities in the host country and reduce various conflict with proactive participation. Then industries with long-term investment such as oil, gas, mining, manufacturing, and agriculture will prefer to stay in the host country by approaching the community by distributing CSR. Of course, the practice of CSR is also carried out by palm oil entrepreneurs in Indonesia. The palm oil sector is a sector that is always attached as part of the abundance of Indonesian natural resources. And some of business actors who were sampled in this study like PT BNP, Astra Agro Lestari, DSN Group, Lonsum Indonesia, Sawit Sumber Mas, and etc. And so far, CSR studies have been studied more from the point of view of management science, business science, and communication science. Parischa examined CSR from ethical leadership. They have argued that ethical leadership apparently affects the implementation of CSR either directly or indirectly. This is important for corporate leaders who want to encourage their CSR behavior. And through this program, the organization places employee welfare and environmental welfare as a source of value creation for long-term business competitiveness. Program implementation will be greatly influenced by several organizational factors, such as the role of leadership, conformity with organizational culture, and the organization's ability to implement CSR programs. Organizations that have the ability to maintain harmony and with the internal and external environment will be able to create a work climate that encourages the realization of positive employee perceptions and behaviors so that it has an impact on the achievement of organizational goals. The organization's ability to maintain harmony with the environment and commitment to environment development is able to encourage long-term competitive advantage. So what is actually CSR? CSR is a dominant concept that is an important part of corporate movement somewhere. CSR is considered to be a form of recognition from the community towards corporate responsibility. Furthermore, CSR is also often identified as a form of corporate ethics to contribute socially and economically to the community around the corporate. And there are actually 4 basic principles of CSR. The first one is sustainability. Sustainability deals with the effects of actions taken in the present on the choices available in the future. The problem is that if the resources used by the corporate in the present are no longer available in the future. And 3 principles. And the second one accountability. This principle is related to the recognition of institutions that their activities affect the external environment. And transparency. This principle states that institutions are obliged to report on their various activities periodically, and this report can be accessed by the public. And transparency is considered as a form of institutional responsibility to the wider community. And in the discussion, we have analyzed some CSR practice. In the number one is CSR practice in the district of South Labuhan Batu, North Sumatra. So Pasar Ibu's research CSR in this district in North Sumatra and in Labuhan Batu, CSR still does not meet the principle of sustainability, and community empowerment is also not optimal. In addition, the corporate still does not have a CSR implementation blueprint and has not involved the wider community and volunteers to obtain community needs from CSR funds. So far, CSR is still charity, and in fact, in order for CSR to run optimally, charity programs must be minimized. And various palm oil corporates in Labuhan Batu carry out various CSR programs, such as fostering smallholders, oil palm farmers around their plantations, establishing partnerships between plasma farmers and corporates, building road and bridge infrastructure, houses of worship, health facilities, helping build elementary school education facilities, and etc. So the second one is CSR practice in Riau. Similar to Labuhan Batu, the implementation of CSR by palm oil corporates in Riau has not met also the CSR principles. PT Tribakti Sarimas has not met the actual needs and development of community because CSR program being implemented is not a long-term program that can make the community independent and prosperous. The problem of CSR practices by these corporates because it has not reached the community as a whole. The CSR program is still a donation or voluntary from the corporate and is not sustainable. And furthermore, by Haki reviewed the CSR implemented by PT Karisma Inti Usaha, PT Hasnur Citra Terpadu from social, health, and community aspects, and those both of them realized CSR programs in Pandahan Village and Pulau Pinang Village in Tapin Regency, Riau. CSR programs are carried out in several aspects, such as social aspects covering education and health, and then economic aspects. Then the corporate also provides formal education scholarships for economically weak communities. Then in the health sector, prior to the realization of the CSR program, the medical facilities and infrastructure in Pandahan Village were not also sufficient. So then in the perception of the support aspects, community support tends to be low, especially in the cooperation with other parties. This section has not become a priority in the corporate CSR implementation. Next is an analysis of aspects of CSR program. The community around PTPN 5 believes that the form of CSR programs needs to be maintained. For example, CSR in the fields of health, education, social services, basic food assistance, and repair of worship facilities. CSR in the social sector is indeed a community need. Requests for proposal from the community for CSR assistance are also mostly in the social sector. And people who work in the corporate environment feel that they do not get more attention from the corporate, then they hope that corporates can pay more attention to them because they also belong to the weak economic category. And the corporate diplomacy strategy as also solutions alternative. Companies are increasingly facing high public expectations regarding their contribution to society as a key stakeholder or societal turn. In fact, corporate diplomacy has become a necessity for companies to develop bright ideas and innovations to answer the needs of future transformation and expansion of diplomatic activities in establishing partnerships with the world community. Traditional diplomacy and corporate diplomacy are a functional symbiosis between tools, procedures, diplomatic mindsets, and diplomatic practices for better governance of international advocacy. And so if we examine from the polemic of CSR of palm oil corporates in South Labuhan Batu, PT Tribakti Sarimas in Kuantan Singingi Regency, and PT Perkebunan Nusantara 5 in Riau Province, the company should involve the community in implementing various CSR programs for the community around the company. Community aspirations will certainly increase the potential effectiveness and efficiency of CSR programs for the community. Companies should also have the right planning in realizing CSR programs. Then the globalization is also increasingly encouraging the empowerment of civil society and the development of state sovereignty internally and externally. Sovereignty is certainly a shared responsibility towards a new social contract between the state and civil society, which is manifested in participatory governance. This leads to efforts to respond to expectations of the public or the epistemic community. Corporate diplomacy in this case also expands diplomatic functions to become more plural, starting with new issues, new actors, new ways, new goals, and new places. This diplomatic arena is also commonly referred to as the hybrid diplomatic arena and will continue in the years to come. And in the three companies that are examples of cases this study, namely the palm oil company in Labuhan Batu, PT Tribakti Sarimas, and PT PN5, will better carry out corporate diplomacy activities through two-way communication or reciprocal communication with various community groups around the palm oil, which are divided into Ring 1, 2, and 3. And this is also emphasized by Anathan that one of the main principles in ensuring the successful implementation of CSR is the right communication strategy. This means that every activity carried out by the company as a form of implementing social responsibility must be socialized to the surrounding community to get feedback and provide benefits to the surrounding community. Even though the surrounding community to get feedback and provide benefits to the surrounding, even further, corporate diplomacy can be oriented towards citizenship by paying attention to several aspects such as motivation, like self-enlightenment and reconciliation with social order, and the second, mission, contributing to society, and the third, management, internalized in company policies, fourth, organizing, involvement of both fund and other resources, and the fifth, beneficiaries, society at large and companies, and the sixth, contributions, grants or development and social engagement, and the second and the last is inspiration, like common interest. To overcome this problem, government support is needed as the party responsible for maintaining the survival of the community. The role of the government in dealing with companies is indeed not as a regulator or a controller, but rather as a party that acts as a partner. The role of government is needed not only as a policymaker, but also as a facilitator and dynamist for the business world in carrying out social responsibility towards the community. In the field of international relations, the government and palm oil companies certainly seek to synergize and have a beneficial relationship. Actors can partner with various stakeholders, from the government as the highest unit of analysis to individuals as the lowest unit of analysis. In order for CSR to run optimally, charity programs must be minimized. Companies must start developing sustainable sustainable programs such as skills development programs, youth development, so that CSR will encourage job creation, human resource development, increase income, and also reduce poverty. So the conclusion is, to conclude, CSR also colors the study of international relations because of the expansion of the movement of non-state actors, dynamics, and interest in it. In the palm oil industry, a good and appropriate communication strategy with farmers will further increase the efficiency of CSR program realization because the demand and supply meet at the right point. The bottom-up approach taken by palm oil companies is likely to help companies better plan and innovate CSR programs that are more contributive to helping farmers' life. Furthermore, the state actor, in this case, the government of Indonesia, is expected to be able to synergize with palm oil companies to regulate pro-farmer policies so that palm oil is a leading domestic commodity which is also exported to various countries globally. Future research is expected to be more elaborative by blending the science of international relations and communication for research findings that are more conducive from an academic and practical perspective. So many thanks from me. Stay home, stay healthy, and stay wealthy. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bye. Thank you so much.